This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach.
Hello, everybody. Let's go ahead and open up that waiting room. As yes, we are live. And folks, it is Pharmacist Friday, and you are here watching Daily with Doc and Becca, where it doesn't matter if it's Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. This information is for you, especially if you just stumbled upon us or you're looking for information to help share with others and educate them on some of the things that they may have thought was okay to eat because, hey, the FDA would not approve Twinkies if they were bad for you, right? Well, hello, everybody. My name is Becca Dukes, and as the host of this program, it is my honor to be able to bring information that is sometimes lighthearted, sometimes pretty heavy. But today we're going to be talking about some of those hidden dangers, and it's not a deep dive, it's just touching on it. Some of those hidden dangers of things found in ultra-processed foods. We're also going to be doing some questions and answers. So if you are watching on any of the platforms or here live with us, make sure that you put your questions into the chat as we have people who are watching, paying attention, and bringing those questions to the show for you. Now, if you're here live with us, go ahead and raise your hand. Go to reactions, raise hand, and we will get to as many questions as we can after we get our opening done. Well, Pharmacist Fridays, you know what that means? We have the one and only Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, who is nationally known as a speaker, as a nutritional professional, as a real pharmacist, and as just a great human being who cares about people, not wanting to make people think, well, okay, everybody should know this. We're not talking to an audience that's dumb. And we're not saying that you're dumb. Just there's misinformation out there, and we want to help bring some light on to some of those hidden things that may be affecting your health. So, Pharmacist Ben.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for coming on with us today.
Are you saying we're dumb?
No, I said we're not.
Did I hear you say we're dumb?
Dumb.
Oh, okay.
No, we're not saying that we're dumb.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
It's just misinformed, right?
You don't mean dumb, do you?
No, I don't.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding you. I know you. I know. It's not about being dumb. We're bombarded with information, and I wouldn't say, even if we believe things and that we shouldn't believe, and things that are obvious we don't understand, it's because we're innocent. We're trusting.
Mm-hmm.
We believe
when
we think too little of ourselves and too much of the people who are telling us things, which is why I always go out of my way to make sure I always explain how the whole thing works. Because it's respecting people. We're not dumb. I don't want to assert and just tell you what to do. I hate doing that. I want everybody to be their own health authority, because it's not that complicated. And especially you want to talk about ultra-processed food. That was our heading today. And I almost, as I talked to you earlier, and I talked to AJ earlier, I almost feel a little guilty talking about that, because it's kind of like you would think the people would know about the problems with ultra-processed food. But then you guys disabused me of that idea and said, we don't know. And you told that story about French fries. And, they're potatoes. How bad could they be? And they're sweet potatoes. They're even better for you. Right?
Go for the healthier option, right? Sweet potato fries.
Sweet potato fries, right? And so, okay, so your point's well taken. First of all, there's a distinction between processed food and ultra-processed food. We used to say processed food not that long ago. A few years ago, we'd say stay away from processed food. Now we have to say ultra-processed food. Processed food is any food that is changed from its original state. So preserving, cooking, pasteurizing, fermenting, freezing, milling, roasting, canning. These are all ways of processing foods. And they will change the nutritional value of a food. And that's true. But they don't come close to harm. They don't come close to destroying foods. Preservation or processing techniques do not come anywhere near as close to destroying the value of food as ultra-processing food. An ultra-processed food it's not even a food. It's an industrial formulation. You ever see American cheese? That's a classic example of an ultra-processed food. It's American cheese. It's not called cheese. It's called cheese food substance. It can't even call it cheese, because it's not a food. It's an industrial formulation made mostly or entirely from substances that come from foods. It's chemically modified ingredients, additives, with very little food left in it, or identifiable food left in it. The most important thing about ultra-processed food is they're designed to be hyper palatable. And instead of calling them ultra-processed food, they should call them ultra-palatable foods. Palatable means tasty, like you can't stop eating them. So in order to understand why we can't stop eating them, we've got to understand a little bit about brain chemistry. And while brain chemistry might be a little bit complicated and maybe even too complicated for us to understand, if we don't understand it, we're going to become victims of people who do understand it. People understand it so well, they have PhDs in it. They're doctors of poison. They're doctors of chemical additives. They're doctors of excitotoxins. They're doctors. They got I don't mean medical doctors. I mean, they got PhDs. They got doctorates in how to manipulate your brain with these chemicals. And that's why you can't stop eating them. They're hyper palatable because they activate chemistry. They activate brain chemistry, not because they're satisfying nutritionally. And that distinction in a nutshell is the problem. We eat for two reasons. Number one, we eat for nutrition and nourishment. And number two, we eat for brain satisfaction. And throughout history, they were together. They were linked. You got brain satisfaction when you got nutrition. But about 100 years ago, we figured out how to separate those two and create brain satisfaction without nutrition. And because nutrition is expensive and brain satisfaction is not, the profit margins on brain satisfaction without nutrition are so high that it's worth it to have companies make foods that have lots of brain satisfaction with no nutrition. And that's why the biggest companies in the world are the food companies, Nestle's, Nabisco, and Keebler's, and all these cracker companies and bread companies and snack companies, because the profit margin on brain chemicals compared to what you're selling it for is so huge, so enormous, it's hard to turn that down as a company. And so we've created an entire food supply that has these brain satisfying foods or substances, we'll call them. I don't want to call them foods, brain satisfying substances that don't provide nutritional value, but it's worse than that. I'll tell you in a second. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, that goes along with the whole marketing of no one can eat just one.
That's no one can eat just one. That's the whole idea. And they made it into a selling point. No one can eat just one. But they didn't tell you no one can eat just one because they're hitting your dopamine triggers, your neurotransmitter triggers in the brain. And so when you think about it that way, we should be so angry. We should be, giving them the finger instead of giving them our money, because they're tweaking us. They're manipulating us like they're pulling our strings, like we're puppets. It's so unfair. So these hyper palatable, hyper convenient, heavily branded foods, ready to eat, they're impossible to stop eating. Not only that, but there's techniques, there's tricks. For example, there's something called throat slip. Throat slip is how fast a food slips down your throat. There's another phenomena called disappearance. And that's where food disappears so quickly, you wind up eating more. Those foods that melt in your mouth, like cotton candy type of foods. These are all little tricks that they know how to play. When a food disappears, when you eat a food and it disappears quickly in your mouth, your brain thinks it's gone and it sends you out for more. And that's why you can't stop eating these foods that melt in your mouth quickly, or you can't stop eating the foods that slip down your throat quickly. In fact, fast food, so-called fast food, is really, originally the name was because they make it fast or you get it fast, but really fast food is fast food because you have to eat it fast. Because if you ate it slowly, you wouldn't eat it. Next time you have a McDonald's hamburger or whatever, Big Mac or a Whopper, whatever you're eating, eat it slowly. And watch how quickly it becomes disgusting in your mouth. You won't want to eat it. It has gristle and it's mushy and it's just awful. And you're going to see it. If you eat your food slowly, your fast food slowly, you're not going to want to eat it. Even a sugary food, if you eat it slowly, it's going to be too intense, like a sweet food. Try it, just experiment yourself. So a processed food is a food that's still recognizable as a food. An ultra-processed food is a food that is not at all recognizable as a food. Even animals will tend to not eat ultra-processed food. Wild animals, that is. Domesticated animals will. And then there's the problems associated. Well, first of all, there's the lack of nutritional value. So you're getting calories without nutrition. That's a big problem right there. Because in nature, the nutrition is supposed to help you use the calories. But if you have calories without nutrition, now you got nothing to utilize the calories. So you're just getting calories without any of the facilitating ingredients, the vitamins, the minerals, the aminos, and the fatty acids, the micronutrients, the mighty 90 essential nutrients are there to help you utilize the calories. But in ultra-processed food, you don't have them, so you just have the calories, which is great if you're burning calories. Most of us aren't burning calories, so they just sit on our, they get turned into fat, which is why the solution, or one of the solutions to reducing the impact of ultra-processed foods, is do your Beyond Tangy Tangerine with your ultra-processed food. Do your Beyond Tangy Tangerine with your meals. I always tell people, drink BTT with your meals. It'll acidify, it'll help support acid in your stomach, because it'll acidify your foods, activate your enzymes. It'll make it easier for the nutrients to be absorbed because you got your digestive juices going, and it'll replace some of the nutrients that are lost, all the nutrients that are lost in ultra-processed foods. So these hyper palatable foods, they're easy to chew, easy to swallow, they're rapidly eaten, they're engineered for brain chemistry, for reward chemistry. That's really what it is. It's reward chemistry. The body evolved to reward us for good things. So when we got a woolly mammoth steak or whatever they ate back in the caveman days, you would get brain chemicals that made you happy. Figured out reward chemicals, they call them. So we figured out how to hack into reward chemistry. So our brain goes, yippee. You could put MSG or an excitotoxin or flavor enhancer on a cat turd, and your brain will go, filet mignon, yippee. You know, and that's how they work. And then you got the whole blood sugar issue, and diabetes is a complete epidemic. And diabetes is linked to everything. Cancer is diabetes, a form of, not a form of, but it's the end result of dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar. Forget diabetes, dysglycemia. Heart disease is dysglycemia. Diabetes itself is the third leading cause of death. Alzheimer's disease, which is the fourth or fifth leading cause of death, that's type 3 diabetes. So blood sugar dysglycemia, which is directly related to ingestion of ultra-processed food, is a leading cause of death. So ultra-processed food are like a leading cause of death, a leading cause of mortality. Then you got the intestinal health, the disturbances of the microbiome. You don't get fiber with ultra-processed food because remember, they're trying to get you to eat fast. Fiber slows things down trying to get you to eat fast. Chronic low-grade inflammation, that is immune attack from ultra-processed foods, is driven by excess calories and excess calories from ultra-processed food. The mental health connection. How many people do you know that have anxiety issues, bipolar issues, depression issues, anger issues? How much of that could be related to nutritional deficiencies caused by the ingestion of high-calorie, hyperpalatable foods that are depleted of zinc and the B complex and omega fats, all of which are important for the brain. So ultra-processed food, the list of problems associated with ultra-processed food is long. I personally can't see. I just assume people know when food is a food is ultra-processed to the point of it being problematic. Perhaps not. So what you want to do is you want to keep your food as pristine as possible. Cooking is about as much processing as you want a food to undergo, to have undergone. You have certain foods need to be cooked, and that's about it. If you're eating a food that has a long ingredient deck and has multiple components, ingredient components to it, like Twinkies, for example, which has 80, 90 ingredients, some ridiculous amount of ingredients on it, that's going to be a problematic food. That being said, and the jaw problems too, by the way, dental problems are associated with ingestion of these kinds of soft foods, hyperpalatable foods. So the good news that if you want to put a spin on it, a positive spin on it, if you're ingesting ultra-processed food, you can mitigate some of the damage with the Healthy Start Pack. If you know that you're busy and you don't feel like cooking and you're at work and you're eating Lunchables and snacks and all the things that that are ultra processed, that is an added reason, an extra reason for you to get on the Healthy Start Pack. You can mitigate some of the toxicity associated with the ultra processed food, and you can replace the nutrients that are missing from your diet when the bulk of your calories comes from ultra processed food. So the good news is we have a solution, and it's not a total solution because you're still going to get toxicity, but it can mitigate some of the damage. It can eliminate some of the damage caused by the bad stuff and eliminate some of the damage caused by the lack of good stuff in ultra processed food. Does that make sense?
Well,
and fats and oils, by the way, fats and oils, fried, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Fats and oils, like French fries, those aren't ultra processed foods. A French fry is not an ultra processed food. It's still a potato, but that doesn't mean it's good. So it's not only ultra processing that renders foods toxic or less than valuable. It could actually be processing, and deep frying is a processing technique. It's not an ultra processing technique. And you could take, a broccoli and deep fry it, and you'll destroy or at least reduce a lot of the nutritional value of that broccoli by deep frying. So processing can be a problem too. But the ultra processing, those are ridiculous. Those kinds of foods are crazy. They're not even food, and we're eating them. We're ingesting them. Yes, AJ. AJ? Oh, AJ, you're muted. You're muted, I think. AJ's muted.
Unmute, please.
I can't unmute him.
Okay.
There you go. No, you're muted
One more
again.
time.
Okay. So you muted me again. All right. So I'm unmuted now, right?
You're unmuted. I didn't mute you.
Okay. So I just wanted to read from the article that you sent.
Which one?
Because
I sent you?
You sent us, yes. And it's because it's not a frivolous point. You know, I know you don't like talking about it, but I think these are serious points that certainly we know that the stuff's not good for us, but I think it's an important point to mention how not good it is for us. So just Becca, if you allow me a couple sentences here.
Go for it.
They analyzed data from 6,800 adults participating in a long-term study of heart disease caused by clogged arteries. Those who ate the most ultra-processed foods were 67% more likely to die from heart disease or stroke, or to experience a non-fatal heart attack, stroke, or cardiac arrest. Overall, each serving of ultra-processed foods was associated with a 5% increased risk of cardiac events. The link was even more powerful among Black Americans, researchers found. Each additional serving brought Black people a 6% increased risk compared with a 3% increased risk for non-Black people. Now, I'm not talking about, you know, that stuff, but what I'm mentioning is this is serious business.
Yeah, it is serious business. And we don't, we don't appreciate the relationship, the connection between our health challenges and ultra processed food. And that might be more of a more relevant topic. Everybody knows, I mean, I don't want to say everybody, I would think people would know that cotton candy and Cracker Jacks, those are problematic foods. But what we may not realize is that our heart disease is related to that. I tell the story sometimes, and I probably told it before here on the show, but it's really interesting how the disconnect we make between our foods and our medical issues. I was in the grocery store when everybody's wearing their masks, and I don't want to revisit all that stuff, but I saw this older couple, and I was walking in the aisle, and they were both wearing their masks like good Americans, like they're all supposed to do, like their doctor told them to do. And the husband, I don't know how old they were because they were wearing their mask, but I guess they were in their 60s or so. And the husband had a big 62 or a 64 ounce bottle of Coke and a 64 ounce bottle of Pepsi. And he was asking his wife which one she wanted. And they were wearing the masks. And they were doing everything they were supposed to do so they wouldn't get the evil virus, what their doctor told them. But they didn't see the relationship between what they were drinking and they would need the mask maybe if they would not drink the Coke or not drink the Pepsi or whatever else they were doing. And during that whole thing, when everybody's wearing masks and everybody wants to stay in the house and stay 6 feet apart and nobody wants to visit each other, the lines at Chick-fil-A and Taco Bell were longer than ever before. It's like we don't see the relationship between our shingles and our cold sores and our viral infections and our arthritis and not to mention our cancer and our heart disease, the more severe life-threatening issues, and the kind of foods we're eating. I think that is more relevant, and we're not being told that. And it reminds me kind of how in the old days, like in the Middle Ages, and even in the Dark Ages, before the Middle Ages, the priests would say, "Don't worry, we talk to God for you. We'll you do whatever you want to do. We'll talk to God, and you just live your life, and we got connections. Just give us your house when you die and 10% of your income," or whatever they did. And today we got doctors saying the same thing. They say, "Don't worry, we got drugs for you. We got cardiac ablations for you." And they've forgotten that the drugs and the cardiac ablations and the heroic surgical techniques for addressing these kinds of problems, they're only for emergencies. We've made them we've normalized them into lifestyle practices, cardiac ablations and stents and bypass surgeries. These are all, they should be reserved for emergencies, but they've just become normalized. Don't worry about what you eat because we've got a stent for you, or we've got a beta blocker for you. We got an ablation for you. Yes.
So my aha moment was when I was working for a medical device manufacturer on the quality returns team for angioplasty catheters and stents. And I vowed to myself that I would figure out how to avoid ever needing that device and never be on that operating table. So here we are. And here we're talking about it. Now, Pharmacist Ben.
Yes.
You mentioned so many different things.
Yes.
You just kind of skimmed over how this all affects the digestion.
How ultra-processed foods do?
Yes.
Well,
And they
first of all, the
disrupt
lack of fiber is really important for the microbiome and for regular bowel movements, regular elimination, and detoxification. So the first thing about ultra-processed food is the hyperpalatability mandates that the fiber's gone. They have to take the fiber out so that you can eat the food fast. Fiber slows down how fast you can ingest the food, and fast food needs to be ingested fast. So fiber is the first problem. Then there is the disturbances of the microbiome caused by the chemicals in the food. And so that throws off intestinal health. And then there's the sugar, which completely throws off the microbiome. So between the sugar, and that's also, by the way, sorbitol and non diabetic friendly or non-caloric sweeteners, those can also disturb the microbiome. The lack of fiber and the toxicity, the full-blown toxins in the food, even though they're in small amounts, all of those can throw off and disturb intestinal health. And from there, you're off to the disease races, as you say. And that's another reason why you want to use your Beyond Tangy Tangerine and your nutritional supplements and your Healthy Start Pack with your meals. And by the way, the microbiome, once that's disturbed, it can take years for it to get reestablished, particularly if you're taking antibiotics.
Yeah. Well, and I think this also kind of brings home the fact that we need to read labels. Well, one, shop around the outside of the store where things aren't as
the outside,
processed.
that's right. Shop around that's the best thing you could do, is get the foods that are as pristine and as food-like as possible. You want the most food-like foods that you can find.
I do have to do a shout out to my son because we were on that outside. We were looking at cheeses. He was reading labels. He's like, I said, well, let's look at them. What's cheapest? He said, that's the cheapest. But Mom, it says right there, ultra processed American cheese shredded. Shreds.
It says it right there, ultra processed.
It's on this package. He says, that's not cheese. So I was very proud of this little boy who was raised. How old is
little boy? How old?
He's 14.
Okay. Not that little, but okay.
He's over 6 foot now. But, you know, he had like good and bad as on the shoulders as far as his parents go, where, oh, he's a kid, just let him eat the sweet stuff. Let him have the cotton candy. Let him have, you know, whatever he wants. He's a kid, he's young, he'll bounce back. But when we start young like that, that's what leads to early development of all these old age, quote unquote, diseases that are nutritional deficient. So
diseases caused by deficiencies. Diseases caused by deficiencies.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
So I'm glad that I'm rubbing off on him. Because then he also pointed out that the shredded cheese has non-caking agents that inhibit mold production. I was like, okay, so what do you think is the best? He's like, just get the cheese. I said, are you going to grade it?
Cheese.
Like, yeah. No, just block of cheese. And he agreed. He's been doing really good at grading it. So raise your kids right, folks, so they don't have to deal with these things, and have them read labels and know the difference between real food, processed food, and ultra processed food. Oh, Pharmacist Ben, before we get to questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I'm good. Let's get some questions. Yeah, no, I'm good. Let's get some questions. Yes.
Let's get some questions. So, Olga had mentioned that my daughters, when they were younger, declined to eat that cheese at the party once, saying that they don't want to eat plastic. it burns like plastic. So ultra processed food like Velveeta, American cheese, you know, as a chemist yourself, do they have some similarities to plastic?
Yeah, Velveeta does. They're plasticizing agents. Plasticizing
Okay.
agents are chemicals that make things stretchy. And Velveeta is considered one of the greatest inventions by food processors. It's considered to be one of the greatest inventions ever by the food processing companies because it works so well. You could heat it, you could spread it. I've never had Velveeta, but it came out. I think it comes. This is the one that comes out of a sprayer.
Oh no, that's Cheese Whiz.
Oh, Cheese
Velveeta was a
Whiz.
great big block. I remember my grandmother, who was a nurse, introducing it to us. And then my sister, 13 years older than I, was always making me Velveeta grilled cheese, and we
It
would
made great
melt it.
grilled cheese sandwiches. I think that was the big deal about Velveeta, wasn't it?
Yeah, that on white bread.
What
Yeah.
was made? What was It's not called a cheese. It's called a cheese product or a cheese substance.
Cheese product.
It's cheese
Mhm.
product. But
Right.
what is it about it? It's the creamy texture and the meltability. Is that the idea?
The creamy texture, the meltability, and the flavor.
Yeah. Pasteurized process, cheese product. Cheese is a
Yeah.
cheese substance. Yeah, cheese product, I guess.
Cheese food. Yeah, it's crazy. And then also I heard margarine, which was said to be better than butter.
I remember growing up, it was supposed to be better than butter. It's
Yeah.
supposed to, but it tastes like butter. Remember, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. Remember that commercial?
Oh, you know, now, because I was raised with an Imperial, because it was supposed to be healthier, better than butter.
Yeah.
And my father was based on a farm, and he changed my mom's mind about that. So
Did
I'm
he?
thankful for that. Yes.
It's good. If
So
you're
we
raising a farm, you
changed it
knew.
to butter.
Yes, you knew.
Yes. So the next question is, what does Pharmacist Ben think about organ-specific supplements, bioregulators made of short-chain amino acids, frequently specific organ or systems in the body?
Okay, that's a mouthful there. So organ-specific supplements, that doesn't really make sense. There's no, unless it's you're talking nutritional like Mighty 90 nutritional supplements, or what kind of
Well,
supplements?
I'm wondering because I know that you can get like liver
yeah, glandulars. Those are called
glandulars.
Yeah, glandulars are organ specific. They're not really, I guess they are supplements. So yes, organ specific like adrenal, thyroid, liver. These are they call them glandulars. They're ground up animal glands, and they do have some not organ specific but gland specific benefits. So if you have an adrenal issue, you can take adrenal gland. If you have liver issues, take liver gland. If you have thyroid issues, you can take thyroid gland. But we really talk about here is not so much that as the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. The reason the Mighty 90 essential nutrients are distinguished from everything else is because of the word essential. You have to have them, otherwise you exhibit a disease, a deficiency disease. And here's the thing. You can have subclinical disease states where you're not fully blown, you don't have full-blown scurvy, for example. Vitamin C deficiency causes a disease called scurvy. Scurvy is when your teeth fall out of your mouth and you have these horrible wounds on your skin, and your blood vessels, your vasculature becomes weak and ultimately explodes, and you end up hemorrhaging to death. But you can have subclinical scurvy, and osteoporosis could be part of subclinical scurvy, and you don't realize it. Or you could have subclinical beriberi. Beriberi is a full-blown thiamine deficiency where you have horrible neural problems and terrible peripheral neuropathies, and you can't move, and you have tics and cramps and all kinds of horrible neurological symptoms. But you may just have forgetfulness if you have a little bit less B vitamins, or you may have some emotional lability where your moods change, or you may have a little bit of cramping or pain in your fingers or your toes, small little things. And that's why nutritional deficiencies are so important, not so much to prevent full-blown diseases. The doctors want you to think, oh, if you don't have a full-blown disease, you're fine. And what I'm saying is, and what we're saying is, we're leaving health on the table. Yeah, you may not have scurvy, but you just may have weak bones. Yeah, you may not have beriberi, but you just may be forgetful. Yeah, you may not have pellagra, full-blown pellagra, which kills you, but you may just have some cramping or some diarrhea, you know, or some mental health problems. So it's not so much the full-blown diseases, which we don't really have anymore because everybody gets a little niacin, everybody gets a little thiamine, everybody gets a little vitamin C. It's the less than maximum health and the less than optimum lifespan that we're trying to address. I believe we're leaving longevity and we're leaving health on the table by not optimizing our nutritional status. Adrenal glands and thyroid and glandulars, that's not in the same ballpark as essential nutrients. It's the essential nutrient deficiencies that's the problem. Nobody is deficient in liver. Nobody is deficient in adrenal glandulars. But lots of people are deficient in B vitamins, perhaps not to the point where we have beriberi, but to the point where we have low energy or neurological issues, forgetfulness.
So there's the like cures like philosophy. And I think that might be what she may be referring to.
No,
like,
that's the law of sympathy. No, that's where herbs. That's more for botanicals. That's called the law of similars. I think they call that, and that's where the shape of I forgot what herb it is, but there's certain herbs that have the shape of a kidney, and they're good for your kidneys. You know, so there's certain in the law of similars. There are certain botanicals that have a resemblance to parts of the body, and based on the law of similars, that's supposed to be good for that part of the body. Glandulars are a little different. If you have a thyroid problem, taking thyroid gland, like a thyroid glandular, may support your thyroid. It may not so much because of the shape of the thyroid glandular, but because you're getting some of the hormones and some of the chemicals that are in a thyroid, a cow's thyroid or a pig's thyroid, and you're putting in your system. And we do know that Armour thyroid, have you heard of Armour thyroid? Armour thyroid is a medicine for the thyroid, which is a glandular. They call it Armour thyroid. It's basically ground up thyroid.
Okay. Well, and I'd want to know, how are they getting this? And is this like coming from an animal that they want me to put in my own body, which is actually not. Yeah.
You don't know. And you don't know how clean the animal is. Now,
That's
a reputable company, I assume, would have like a, organic or something, but I don't know. All right, what else?
All right. So Jerry says, how about dairy? Seems that's okay.
Yeah, dairy's interesting. Dairy's an interesting subject because theoretically, dairy, it's not even called, we don't call it dairy, but milk is a very powerful food for the animal that makes the milk. So that human mother's milk is the most powerful food a human being can eat, can ingest. But we don't after a certain age. But everything in mother's milk is really, really good for humans. So, we should all have our own mother's milk, to drink from theoretically. But as it turns out, humans can get some value from other animals' milk. And milk is a very, very nutritionally dense food. There's some problems with it, though. First of all, it's incredibly nutritionally dense. Dairy is powerful, powerful stuff. It's along the lines of eggs. It's made to grow things. It has everything you need to grow things, we'll say. Eggs aren't made to grow things, but they have everything you need, everything a cell needs. Dairy is made to grow animals. Cow's milk is made to grow a cow, and rhino milk is made to grow a rhino, and elephant milk is made to grow an elephant, etc. So they're loaded, absolutely packed. But there's a couple problems. First of all, there's the way we raise the cows. And so milk from cows, typical standard milk from cows, comes from cows that are under great duress, that have that are prone to infection, that have been given antibiotics and hormones and God knows what else, that are eating the wrong kinds of foods that make them fat, foods that themselves are contaminated with pesticides and glyphosate and other things. So there's some problems with industrial milk. A small raw milk from a small farm, you're going to probably bypass those issues, and the milk could be very valuable. The second problem associated with milk is the proteins The immune system in the body is designed to recognize foreign proteins. And so you can react to milk, and there can be and dairy, and people can have skin problems, immune problems, arthritis, and inflammatory issues from ingesting milk because of the foreign proteins that are in milk. And then there's the lactose. Most people, or a lot of people anyway, are lactose intolerant, and that creates changes in digestive health and cause gas and bloating and discomfort. So aside from the lactose issue, aside from the industrial farming issue, industrial dairy issue, and aside from the foreign protein issue, dairy is an amazing food. One more issue is pasteurization and homogenization. Pasteurization, which is done to obviously kill things because milk would grow. Milk is so nutritionally dense, bacteria, microbes are going to grow in milk. So they have to pasteurize it, which means they heat it. And when you heat proteins, you destroy them, as we know, particularly enzymes. So pasteurization destroys much of the nutritional value of milk. And then homogenization makes to homogenize milk means you make all the particles the same size. Homo means the same. So when you homogenize milk, the fat particles and the water particles are all ground up to the same size, and that's how the milk doesn't separate. In the old days, before my time, way old, the milk would separate, right? The cream would rise to the top. Then they figured out how to grind everything up into tiny little components to homogenize it, and the cream particles, the fat particles, and the dairy and the water particles became homogenized. Eventually, they'll still separate over time, but they last longer. Problem is, now you've got these fat particles that are so small they can get into your body much more readily, into your blood much more readily. So then you got the problem with blood fats. So there's a lot of issues associated with industrial milk, from the way the cows are treated and cows are fed, to the homogenization and pasteurization, to the foreign proteins in milk. And so there's some issues there. Raw milk, right from the cow's udder, if you can get it, it probably has some solid nutritional value. Protein, vitamins, minerals. It's probably a really good food. But once it's industrial, once it's at the supermarket, it's not the same thing.
So this is also a plug for supporting your local farmers,
Yes.
folks.
Yes.
Yes, we want to make it as close to nature as absolutely possible. Well, let's go over to Mary, who has her hand up. Mary, what question are you bringing in today?
Yes. Hello, Pharmacist Ben. How you doing
Hello,
today?
Mary. Hi. Good to see you.
Excellent. Good to see you as well. So, assuming that we are not eating ultra-processed foods, which takes a lot, what would you say may be a good balance between eating raw or mildly cooked foods?
Yeah. Raw is obviously, you keep the nutritional value with raw, but you don't. Slight amount of heat releases nutrients, makes them easier for the body to process. And there's actually a lot of biologists, evolutionary biologists, who believe that cooking meat is really how we grew our brains. When we figured out how to cook meat, the protein value of the meat was released for availability, and that's one of the reasons why humans develop bigger brains than other animals. That's an evolutionary theory. So there are some advantages to heating and cooking certain foods. On the other hand, enzymes, which are extremely important and valuable components of foods, those are destroyed by even a little bit of heat. So it's probably some kind of blend. There are some people who can't eat raw vegetables. There's some people who have digestive problems, intestinal problems, and they have to cook their veggies. So it's hard to say exactly what the balance is, but the less you cook or the less heat you use when you're cooking, probably the better off you're going to be. You definitely don't want to cook your steak well done, and you want to minimize the amount of heat a food undergoes, but some foods are best steamed a little bit, braised a little bit to release the nutrients, particularly veggies.
Okay. All right. And any comments around eating meat versus not eating meat?
I don't like wading into that because it's so political, and I can see why people wouldn't eat meat. I mean, I can see the problems there, but it's just so valuable. From a nutritional standpoint, strictly nutritional standpoint, human beings are omnivores.
Mm-hmm.
We're designed to eat everything. We don't have flat teeth like herbivores, animals that don't eat meat. They have flat teeth so they can grind things. We don't have that. We got sharp teeth so we can rip into foods, but we're not like sharp like a lion is sharp. So it's probably kind of a balance of everything. We're omnivores. And there's not a lot of animals that are omnivores, but humans are one of them, where we're designed to eat everything. So I don't particularly like eating meat, but there's things in meat, like, for example, creatine and taurine and certain vitamin B12 that you're not going to get in vegetables. Now, mushrooms are a cross between a vegetable and an animal.
Right.
So a lot of the nutrients, like vitamin D and vitamin A, that you're not going to get in ordinary vegetables that are found in animal foods, you can get from mushrooms. And mushrooms, and that's one of the reasons why mushrooms are such an important part of vegetarians' diets, is because there is a kind of a crossover, and you can get some nutrients, some animal nutrients in fungus, in mushrooms.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I'll turn it back over to Becca.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, Becca.
And we're going to go right over to AJ.
How come we're not talking to people? How come we're only talking to
We are.
us?
We have more comments. See, they're bringing questions in from YouTube and Rumble and email.
My gums and teeth are inflamed, and I'm trying to save them by using Optrin Light, salt, oregano oil, frankincense.
No, you're trying to, what's the logic there? There's no logic.
Yeah, I don't see much.
And that's, unfortunately, that's kind of how it's sort of superstitious. We're just doing certain things like magic, like trying to magically get rid of your gum disease. So it sounds like this person has gum disease, not uncommon. Gum disease the gums are connective tissue. So gum disease should be regarded as the beginnings of connective tissue deterioration. Now, there could be infection there, and that in that case, oregano oil and essential oils may kill bacteria. But really, you want to start building up the gums. And if the gums, which are connective tissue, are deteriorating, then the chances are good that the rest of the connective tissue is deteriorating, because the connective tissue breaks down systemically, not just not in the local parts. So healthy bone and joint pack. You might also want to throw in things like coenzyme Q10, extra B vitamins, extra vitamin C. Vitamin C, gum disease is one of the classic signs of scurvy, of vitamin C deficiency. So things like vitamin C and the B complex and coenzyme Q10 and the healthy bone and joint pack. And anything that destroys connective tissue, specifically sugar and cigarette smoke, and certain drugs, probably.
Pharmacist Ben, just two quick comments. I love, it's counterintuitive that when you explain to us how to fluidize the blood, that you talk about connective tissue products. You talk about using glucogel and MSM and these types of things.
That's not so much. First of all, the blood is connective tissue. It's liquid connective tissue. So anything that builds connective tissue is going to support the blood. But some of those nutrients that you're talking about fluidize the blood. For example, the glucogel caps have glucosamine has electrical charges that cause red blood cells to spread out. All high hyaluronic acid, heparin, these kinds of things that they give you after surgery, they help the blood cells spread out. So it's a little bit different than connective tissue building. But it turns out that connective tissue building is a great strategy for keeping your blood healthy, because it's connective tissue.
And then my last little quick comment is, I saw, as I was reviewing, Becca was talking earlier about when her first Ask Doc Live appeared in 2020, and I had to go confirm that for myself. I had to go look back, and the first Ask Doc Live she did was 2020. So this is 6 years that she's been on this crusade, doing this live for the people on YouTube and Rumble and Facebook, etc. But as I was looking there, I saw that the guy who built this thing with Jonty had been doing it for 10, 11, 12 years. And I'm like, wow.
What are you talking about?
You, man.
Built what?
Well, we've certain
Critical Health News.
Critical Health News.
Oh, Critical Health News. Yeah. You didn't know that? Yeah, we've been doing it.
I knew it, but I'm just mentioning the long.
Did you see young Pharmacist Ben
being committed to talking to the people?
Oh yeah.
About and this is like not a new thing, and I just think that people need to know.
Oh yeah. You know how my story, how I started with longevity, right? I've told that story so many times.
But
I was doing talks in Denver when I saw how powerful nutrition was as a skincare pharmacist, I had a dermatology pharmacy where I made products for people who had skin issues or who had burns or traumas or had just come out of surgery. So I would make topical products for them, but alongside the topical products, I would give them nutrients to help heal the skin or to help treat the skin. And then I noticed that they would lose weight or their blood pressure would drop and all these other health, they get all these other health benefits. They would take, glucosamine to help accelerate the healing of a burn, but their arthritis would start to improve. So I started to see connections between the nutritional supplements and not just skin issues, but other health issues. And then I've told a story before. I don't want to tell the whole story again. At Kmart, I was starting to I would recommend supplements for people. When I was the Kmart pharmacist, right? And so I would recommend supplements for people because I learned in pharmacy school there were certain supplements that you could use for colds and for digestive problems and acne, and I would just start to suggest people use supplements with their medication, and sure enough, they would get better and they would get better results. And then I got cocky and I told people not to take their prescriptions. I said, take the supplements instead of your prescriptions, and that's when I got fired, and that's when I started my own pharmacy. But when I saw it worked for people, I felt like I had to go tell people. I felt obligated. And in fact, I didn't even really want to talk. I was just I was not really a talker. In fact, the first time I gave a talk I don't know if I ever told you the story. I ever tell you the story? I did it. I was doing these little talks in my lab. There were a few people that would come, maybe 10, 15 people at a time. And then one guy, a friend of mine who had he was working for a multi-level company. He was a PR guy. He said, you want to do a talk for our multi-level, our network marketing convention? And so I said, sure. And little did I know, when I went and did the talk, there were 700 people there. And I looked at these 700 people and I was like, I can't do this. And, I was already there. I was in South Dakota. I had flown out there. And so I was kind of forced to do it. And I definitely didn't want to do it. And I was so nervous, I hyperventilated for 50 minutes. And it was an hour talk. And I hyperventilated for 50 of the 60 minutes. I was like this in front of 700 people. It was the most humiliating experience of my life, but I knew I had to do it. I kind of felt like I had to tell people this. And then at the end, like the last 5 minutes, I kind of recovered myself. But I remember for the first I remember looking out and seeing 700 people. You know what that looks like? 700 people. And you're like standing on a stage by yourself. And I never did it before. But I knew I had to do it. I knew that there was this thing that this tool that people were not leveraging that could save their lives and extend their lives, and most importantly, save them from misery, from health misery. And so I felt obligated to do it. And today, I can't live with myself. If I didn't tell everybody about Beyond Tangy Tangerine and how powerful a nutritional therapeutic intervention that is, and a nutritional modality that is, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I have to tell people. And everybody who's listening to this, who's experienced the power of nutritional supplementation, you owe it to people. You owe it to your neighbors. If it's helped you, you owe it to people. And I know we're in a business and we all want to make money, myself included, but the metric, in addition to the metric being how successful we are financially, the metric should also be how successful we are in spreading the message. As it says in Hosea, 800 BC, whatever that is, 2,800 years ago, my people perish for lack of knowledge, right? And yes. It's still to this day. So we are in a life-saving business, and as important as it is to make money, I'm all about money. I'm an entrepreneur, and I like making money. We should never forget that independent of the money we're making, we are saving lives, we're extending lives, and we're mitigating suffering and misery, which is endemic. It's an epidemic all over this country and around the world. The suffering is so unnecessary.
Well, I just want to say October 2017 was the first time I hosted you at
October 2017.
We actually did. Yes, wow. 2017, okay. Where we went clear across the Phoenix Valley.
Oh,
south, east, west, central.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. Was that 2017?
2017.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Holy moly. All
All
right.
right, let's go to another question, Pharmacist Ben. This is
Yes.
Miriam. Miriam, go ahead and unmute yourself. So she's looking into Fucoidin, which I want to say hello and shout out as I see that Yolanda and Raymond are here, and they're very
Are
big
Yolanda and
proponents
Raymond on the
of
call?
Fucoidin.
Are they on the call?
They are, yes. But
Yolanda and Raymond,
so
hi.
yeah,
I
I
love
just
Yolanda and Raymond.
me
And we love you
too.
too.
Oh, there's Yolanda. Hi, Yolanda.
Hi,
So,
Ben. Hi,
Fucoidin?
Becca.
You want to
hi,
talk?
love you, my dear.
Love you too. Back
Let's
to you,
talk.
Ben.
Thank you, Yolanda. I
Okay.
appreciate that.
So Miriam is looking into Fucoidin because of its effects on hemorrhagic and non-hemorrhagic stroke. You talk about it all the time about
I do.
its effect on the blood.
Yes, that's one of its most
And-
important benefits, even though we don't talk.
So she's working with somebody that has had a blood clot stroke a few weeks ago and would like to recommend Fucoidin for its anticoagulant properties. She will not be taking any blood thinners because her doctor said blood thinners are contraindicated since since she
Contraindicated.
also had a hemorrhagic stroke in the past. So does that mean that she should not take Fucoidin either?
No, it doesn't mean that. Fucoidin has blood thinning properties, but that doesn't make it a blood thinner. And that's the way nutrition works. Doctors don't see the difference. They're steeped in the pharmacological model that doesn't distinguish between the properties an herb has or a plant has or a nutrient has and a pharmacological effect. Pharmacology is like hitting the rock. Nutrition is like asking the rock. You know the story from the Bible. We told it before. How Moses didn't go to the promised land because he hit the rock. Nutrition creates an environment that's conducive to good health, that's conducive to biochemical functionality, that's conducive in this case to blood thinning, to fluidizing the blood. That doesn't make it a blood thinner. A blood thinner is a drug that interferes with the enzymes that are involved in coagulation. You see the distinction? You've got all of these chemicals, all these enzymatic reactions, all these chemical reactions, multiple ones. There's like a dozen different ones, maybe more, maybe 20. There's a bunch of different chemical reactions that all have to kick in like one of those Rube Goldberg machines. You know what a Rube Goldberg machine is? Like, remember Mousetrap, the game Mousetrap?
Oh, where you roll it and it knocks
the marble
and
hits the scale
creates
and it goes
different
down the
cause and
slide
effects.
and it hits the switch and this, that, and the other. That's how blood thinning happens in the body. That's how everything happens in the body, but especially blood thinning because blood thinning is so tightly controlled. There's probably no other biochemical process in the body that's more regulated than blood thinning. And so there's all of these steps that are involved in the coagulation process, the blood clotting process. Drugs interfere with those steps, like all drugs do. They interfere with things. That's not how Fucoidin works. Fucoidin has electrical charges on it that magnetically spread out the blood cells. That's not the same thing as a drug. And in fairness to doctors, they're worried and they don't know and they don't understand, so they're erring on the side of caution, but they're depriving their patients of these wonderful tools. In addition to Fucoidin having blood thinning properties, it's great for your joints. It's great for your digestive system. It supports your immunity. It's great for the microbiome. It's a prebiotic for the microbiome. There's minerals and there's vitamins and there's nutrients in Fucoidin from the brown algae. So why would you deprive your body of all of these wonderful benefits? Because our knuckleheaded medical model says that because it has a biochemistry that is conducive to blood flow, it's going to act like a blood thinner. That's dumb. And so we as like we was talking earlier, we're all innocent. We trust them. And in fairness to them, they're just worried. But it's not really, ultimately, it doesn't do our patients any good. So yes, she can take Fucoidin, but her doctors might say no. And so we got to be the world we live in. The doctor's the king, not me, not Pharmacist Ben. The doctor's the king, not longevity. So we got to respect that that's the world we live in. And when we go to a doctor, we are de facto in a contractual relationship with him, where we're saying we're going to do what you're doing. We're going to do whatever you say. Now, we don't have to go to the doctor. We can go somewhere else. But once we're in a relationship with him, you got to listen to the doctor. He's trying to help you as best as he knows how. A hemorrhagic stroke is really a blood vessel issue. It occurs when the blood vessel in the brain bursts, and then you get bleeding that damages the tissue, the brain tissue, and increases skull pressure, and it's pretty serious, a hemorrhagic stroke.
Yeah, that would be very serious. I know we're at the top of the hour, Pharmacist Ben. You have a hard stop.
I have a hard stop here. I hope that was
Yes.
not too confusing. Fucoidin is absolutely spectacular, and it really, and this is the last thing I'll say, then we go. It really highlights an important point that we don't address enough, and that is that nutritional supplementation is not just for sick people. We're always focusing on unhealthy people, and that's for good reason. But Fucoidin demonstrates it's a demonstration of how valuable nutritional supplement can be for everybody. Fucoidin is a tonic for everybody. You don't have to have cancer. You don't have to have a vascular disease. You don't have to have arthritis. You don't have to have a digestive problem. Everybody benefits from the FucoidZ. Everybody. What an amazing product that everybody benefits from. That's non-toxic. That's pretty darn inexpensive for all the benefits that you're getting. And if you do the ZRadical, which I always recommend the FucoidZ because it's more medicinal, has more. But if you do the ZRadical, it tastes good too.
That's right. All right. Well, folks, if we did not get to your questions, or I saw we had a testimonial, Pharmacist Ben, actually, we may take a testimonial.
Yeah, do a quick testimonial. Yeah.
Okay, quick testimonial. And where did she go? If somebody could please help me get our testimonial back up here, that would be fantastic. Folks, we are a resource for an amazing community. So if somebody referred you to this program, please get back with them. They're going to be your first point of contact, as they may have the ability to help you get connected with solutions that help you reach your health goals. If there's no one to thank, you can reach my team, Daily with Doc and Becca team, at 855-949-3377. Again, that's 855-949-3377. If we did not get to your questions, or you have questions you would like to ask, questions at dailywithdoc.com. Again, that's questions with an S at dailywithdoc.com. Now, Florence says, I've been taking longevity products and my very large bald spot filled in. I have pictures before and after.
Nice.
So Florence, please email us questions at dailywithdoc.com, and we'll make sure that we give you the opportunity to share that testimonial, as we're working on putting other testimonials together to have a show that is specifically testimonial in a compliant way. So again, questions at dailywithdoc.com. If I could get the coaches, co-hosts up on the screen with us. I'm so thankful we don't have to do this. Ruth Ellen and I were talking in the beginning when we first did the live stream, and not having everything fit, and it was just the two of us and Doc. It was just the two of us. Doc was great at talking. Yeah, we had a lot of learning that happened in those days. So Pharmacist Ben, again, thank you so much. You are awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Have a fantastic weekend.
See you Monday, Pharmacist Ben.
See you Monday. Look forward to it.
Perfect. Awesome. Awesome. Nancy says, grateful for you, Ben Fuchs, and the team. Thank you so much, Nancy. And again, I am so thankful that I don't have to do this all by myself. Here on the screen with us right now, we have Marilyn, who we lovingly call Speedy Fingers, or Fingers, as she's doing dictation into the chat and repeating what we have in black and white. So thank you so much, Marilyn, for all you do. We have Mary, who is joining us, as she is going around making sure she keeps an eye on the different platforms and bringing those questions in. And we have Albert joining us from South Africa, letting people in as he is our gatekeeper. We also have, looks like Rod, it's this tiny little picture, who's out watching the different platforms, making some comments, keeping some conversation going out on the different platforms. Thank you, Rod. We have Ruth Ellen, my executive production manager, who helps to make sure we are all in line and everything is right, including the lighting and the volume, and taking and putting this recording out onto the live stream, which it's being recorded and pushed live. Thank you, Ruth Ellen, for all that you do. And we have my digital marketing director, AJ, who has helped us get out on all the different platforms and helping us to increase our visibility. So thank you, team, and thank you all of you watching this program as you just invested an hour plus into your own wellness. Now take that investment and act upon it. Call now. Get back to the person that shared with this program with you. Give us a call, 855-949-3377, or visit the website, dailywithdoc.com. Thank you again, Raymond and Yolanda, for popping on, as I see many amazing individuals within our community, health coaches, clients, just, people who have a heart for health, wellness, and other people just like you. We're so thankful for you. So spread the message, like and share. That's the best compliment you can give to us and those that you love. Until next time. Again, my name is Becca Dukes. As a certified holistic health coach and certified naturopathic practitioner, it is my honor and privilege to help you put more tools in your toolbox to create a better health journey. AJ, did you have one more thing you wanted to say? No? All right. Bye for now.
This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach.